Today we're diving into something that should potentially change the way you think about AI, the way you see AI as it is right now. So forget about ChatGPT, forget about image generation AI tools that you may have used many times. We'll be talking about something that you need to pay attention to because this is what has revolutionized the way AI in general works. This one AI technology is so important. One of the high-level experts in AI and machine learning, Andrew Ng, said that this is actually one of the most important technology in 2024, 2025, and beyond. So that's what we're going to be diving into in this video. Now, before we go into this video, I just want to let you know that this is the end of the year. This is actually the last day of 2024. Lots has happened in AI and technology, and I know you know about this because you're watching this video. A few months ago, I put together a community of like-minded people who really want to learn and start building AI solutions that solve real-world problems. So this community is actually thriving. We have a lot of members who are enjoying because we have live calls where you have access to me. We have a group, a community of like-minded people who are working toward one goal only, which is to build AI solutions. So if you are interested in learning more and joining this awesome, thriving AI community, I will leave the link in the description. Go ahead and do that. All right, so back to our video. This main tool, this main technology, very important technology, it's called agentic AI workflows. But why is this technology so important? Imagine having AI that is able to do things beyond just answering questions that you may ask it. Right? For instance, you go to ChatGPT, you type a question, and then you get an answer. That's fine. There's a lot of things, a lot of use cases there where this kind of AI is important, as you very well know. With agentic workflows, what happens now is that you have some sort of a human expert that can plan, revise, and also use tools to get things done. And that, my friend, is what we're going to be talking about in this video. So let's look at what are agentic AI workflows. I like to start with a fun analogy. Imagine that you're writing an email. So what you do usually is you plan the content of that email, and then you write your first draft. Once you write your first draft, well, this is what most of us do anyway, you want to review it to make sure that it looks good. And then you go through the edit and improvement process, which means you go through again if need be, go to review and check facts, and you go as many times as you need through this iterative process here. So once you have made those edits and you made those improvements, that's when you're able to send that email, or that's when you should be sending that email to save yourself from a lot of embarrassments. Okay, so this is how you would do your email. And also, if you look at traditional AI in general, I would call, if I dare to do so, a naive AI, is that what you do is that you receive a prompt, you send a prompt, it goes through the generation process, right? And then we get the response. Now, going back to this email writing analogy here, when we take this process and add this agentic AI workflow, what happens now is that, well, the same thing happens, but now you don't have to do it. So the AI, the agentic AI workflow works for you, which is great. So now we have this plan approach. So that is the part of the agentic AI. And we have the generation of the draft. The draft is created. And we have this self-review process. So it goes again, fact check, improvements if need be. And then if need be again, goes back to self-review and go through this iteration as many times as necessary. And then we have the final output, which then you can take yourself and review yourself and then send that email. So this is the difference and the power of agentic AI workflows. Think of agentic AI workflows as having this team of experts that do things real well. Not just one person, but a team of experts that are able to do tasks very well and coordinate with each other. That's the beauty here. So here's an example. So you can see that at the top we have the task coordinator. The task coordinator, as himself or itself an agent, will know how to analyze a task that it's receiving, create a plan of attack, in this case as I like to call it, and then assign roles, because now we have this director per se at the top, and we'll be able to assign roles, for instance, to other AI agents. So we could have a research expert agent, an analysis expert, review expert, and a tool expert. Now, I want to point out the tool expert. This is one of the beauties, one of the powers that we have when we talk about AI agents in an agentic workflow, because being able to call different tools whenever it needs to. Imagine that in this case here, if this AI agent or these experts need a tool or are not able to solve a certain problem, but they know that they can actually call out something else like an API somewhere, like a weather API to get the weather in Japan of some sort, somewhere in Japan, or they need a tool that allows them to do calculations. Now, these experts will have access to all these different tools that they may need to create, or in this case, to do those tasks. And the beauty here is that this layer of experts, agents here, is always attached, or can always be attached to these available tools layers. So we can do search engines. So these tools could be part of being able to go and do a search online, right? Invoke databases, go ahead and get information from databases if need be. As I said again, API calls and calculators. So now we have this orchestration of tasks that goes through different layers. In this case, we have the task coordinator, which is the main agent. And then below that, we have the expert agents, which are going to be called depending on the task at hand. Okay. And of course, these experts have access to available tools that we give to this whole orchestration, this whole team of experts. Okay, now let's look at this agentic AI workflow here as an overview. We have a user, we have a planner agent, worker agents, plural, tools, and review agent. So what happens is that a task is received which comes from a user. Okay, do X, Y, and Z, and that is sent to the planner agent. So the planner agent, as the name implies, is able to plan out what needs to be done by looking at the task. Okay, so it will analyze the requirements and create the strategy that it's needed. And only when things are done, when it's able to really analyze requirements and create the strategy, that's when it's able to then assign those subtasks that needs to be done to, in this case, the worker agents. So these worker agents, this is what we call the execution phase. So what happens here is going to then look at all of the agents that are needed to do the task. So we can see here, it's going to use required tools. If the required tools are required, in this case, right? If the agents need a tool, then it's going to go ahead and invoke the tools that it needs. And then it returns the results back to the worker agent. And this worker agent may say, well, we actually need to make improvements. It's going to go and get, for instance, another agent that is going to review and do all things it needs to do to make sure we have the right results. So make those improvements. Once those improvements are done, those are submitted to the next agent, which in this case is going to be the reviewer agent. And the reviewer agent is going to cyclically go back and forth, trying to figure out if things are good, review, edit what needs to be edited, and all of that. And once that is done, it's going to request changes back here for improvements. So this is the execution phase. Essentially exactly what I was showing earlier, but in a better diagram. And once everything is done, that's when we return the completed work to be reviewed again at some point if needs to be. And then once all of that is done, that's when the result is delivered back to the user. This is what we call the continuous feedback loop. This is the beauty. We have agents that are going to always go back and forth until they're confident that the result they're going to send to the user are results that are correct results. Here are some of the key characteristics of AI agents. So first we have the iterative improvement. This is really important because we want to make sure that we have this cyclical process that goes continuously, iteratively, goes through to review until we get the right result, until it knows that these are results that it need to be passed along down the stream to more processing or send it back as the final result. Tool utilization, the most important one, because remember, large language models themselves are useful, but not completely, because they're trained on a particular amount of data or of text and so forth. So it has a knowledge base. In order for large language models to really work, especially with agents, now we can use tools. So agents are able to know when and how to use various tools that are available to them so that they can go and actually finish the tasks at hand. The other characteristic here is strategic planning. So planning is very important. And so having the strategic planning sessions where it's going to be able to approach the problem, the task at hand with some sort of analysis, meaning it's going to be able to break down complex tasks into manageable steps. So these manageable steps, these sub-tasks are the ones that are going to be sent down to other agents to start doing those tasks. So all of these has to happen before execution. And then we have self-review, which is the review process, the capability that AI agents will have of becoming critics themselves of what's been passed around until they can make the necessary improvements and go from there. But most importantly here is that when we talk about this agentic AI workflows, that now we have this collaborative environment, work environment. So think of a department at a big company, is that everybody is an agent. They are all working together to a common result, hopefully a good result. Reflection is a centerpiece of AI agents, especially this agentic AI workflow. Why is that important? Well, it's important because this is where we have this iteration that has to happen, this breaking down of tasks, but also thinking, reflecting on what's happening. There's able to self-criticizing certain things, editing and improving, but it has to be all contained. That's the whole idea of having these agents. So understanding the reflection side of thing is one of the biggest power of having this agentic AI workflow. So let's look at that. So the idea is very simple here. You can see we have the initial solution. So once an agent receives that initial solution, it will go ahead and generate the first version of whatever needs to be done. Okay. Now the self-review phase is that's the phase where we analyze the quality and find issues as well as identifying improvements that needs to be done. So when we go to the improvement phase, this is where it's going to take the feedback that was provided by the self-review phase agent. This is the phase where the changes are going to be applied. We're going to enhance the solution as well as fix any issues that may be there. So once all of this is good, then we submit those updated version to the self-review again. Again, this is this cyclical iteration process that is really important for this agentic AI workflow. And so back to our review, self-review, we're going to verify those changes and check for quality. So this again, if need be, it's going to go ahead and request more changes and submit for revision. So it is a loop that goes back and forth. So once these standards are met, that's when we have straight to the final output. So we have the final result. Okay. So that is what we have here when it comes to the reflection, the review part of these agentic AI workflows. Tooling is equally important, as you say, because it allows these agents to be able sort of find help when they need to solve a certain problem. Here is a tool master power workflow. So you can see how internally things work. So we have this tool selection process. So what happens is that, so an agent is going to go and analyze a task requirement. So it's going to see if it needs external tools. If it needs external tools, then it's going to go and select appropriate tools that are needed. You could say, well, the task required me to go and fetch the latest information about X, Y, and Z. Well, it will know that means it needs that. So it's going to go ahead and find the appropriate tool. The appropriate tool could be, in this case, if it's a search engine, it's going to go ahead and get that. If it's tool number 2, in this case could be API call somewhere, or if it needs to go and get to a database. So once each one, or it could be all of them, let's say it's going to do this search engine, or let's just say APIs. So once that tool is called, which means we go and fetch some data from an API, obviously we get some results. So that is the result which is going to go ahead and be processed. And then it's that result, once it's processed, that's what's going to go ahead and integrate that information, the result downstream to a different AI. Okay. Now, if indeed there are no tools are required from this analysis of the task requirements, then of course we're going to just use internal capabilities of what those AI agents will know how to do already. Because we know, if that's the case, that there's no tool needed, which means the AI agent is going to be able to do that task on its own. Now, the planning side of things is very important as well, because in fact that is the very main first thing that it has to happen in the workflow. Let's look at this overview here. So we have this task analysis phase, which means we take a complex task, we break it down into identifiable dependencies, so smaller tasks. Okay, and in this case we have task, planning, execution. Those are the main keywords what's happening here. So once those subtasks or things that need to be done are identified, we go to the planning phase. So what happens in the planning phase? Well, we create the step-by-step sequence of what needs to happen. Okay, so we create also, this is where we plan the resource allocation. What are the resources that are going to be needed in order for this whole process to actually work smoothly, as well as the timeline creation, resource allocation and timeline creation. So when and how other things are going to actually work out in a timeline. And then we have this execution phase. This is the time when we have all these pieces. We have the task analysis done. We pass those tasks, the smaller, into the planning phase. And then at this point here, we're ready to execute, meaning the agents are ready to start orchestrating the execution. So we have execution steps, which is connected to this timeline creation, because we need to know how are things going to be executed in a timeline. Okay, and then we have the progress monitoring to make sure that we are monitoring how things are going, and if need be, we need to adjust the plan. Okay, now here, adjust the plan. If need to be adjusted, we need to go back to the planning phase. It makes sense because plan changes. If we're adjusting the plans, we need to go invoke the planning phase again. If not, then we just go directly to the completion, which is deliver the final results. Now let's look at the collaboration side of things. So you can see that the whole idea of having this agentic AI workflows is all about collaboration. All of these agents are able to be in one place per se, and they can talk, they can communicate with each other to get to a certain result, certain conclusion. And so we talked about the task distribution. That's one part. And then we have the agent. These are the specialists. We have the collaboration. Now, at the centerpiece here, we have the collaboration. The collaboration part of thing has to share progress with everybody. Because if you are in a team, if you don't share progress with other team members, then things are not going to be working well. Why? Because you may be working on the same thing, which in some cases is not the best optimal way of working. And so that's why we have this share progress here. So what happens now, we have the main task analysis happens, and then as we saw, we have role assignment. So we need to know in this phase here, this AI agent or agents will know how to say, okay, researcher agent in this case needs to do X, Y, and Z, and then the analyst agent needs to do this, the review agent and implementation agent. But the collaboration part again is the most important part. As you can see, all of them are pointing here to say we need to share all of our progress somewhere, such a repository per se, so that we are able to communicate and put all results that we get as we go through this process. And then we have the integration side of things. So this is where all the combined results from all of these specialists that have been talking and passing data to each other and all of that. And then we combine all those results, we get the final review, and at the end, we deliver the solution. So my friends, this is one of the concepts you need to understand if you want to actually build AI tools that are actually helpful. And this is where AI is going. This is one of the most exciting technology, as Andrew Ng expressed, in 2024, 2025, and beyond. Understanding the agentic AI workflow, it is indeed the future of AI. So I have these examples of all the superpowers that I have showed you just a few minutes ago. So let's look at them so you can see exactly as an example. So when we talk about reflection power, this is really good in code generation and improvement, as well as in content writing and editing, problem solution, and optimization. It's important here. Why? Let's look at the code generation. When you use any agent or agentic AI workflow that is able to code, well, when you ask it to code X, Y, and Z, the improvement has to happen because the AI may know how to do what you're asking to do, but sometimes it may make mistakes. That's when you want to have this reflection side attached to it so that it's able to go and iterate through to find the right answer, the right code you may be writing. So the same thing with content writing and editing, problem solution optimization, and so forth. So the Toolmaster Power here, we talked about web search integration, API integration or interaction and integration as well, database queries and so forth. And then we have planning power, so project timeline creation, resource allocation, task sequencing. So this is just an overview of what we saw earlier. Team player power, multi-agent problem solving. It's very important to have those agents being able to work together to solve certain problems. Specialized role distribution, collaborative analysis. So this is the superpower example I just want to show you so you can see everything coming together in more kind of like use cases. This is what I want to share with you in this video. I hope this was helpful. This is the end of the year and I want to leave you with something to hold on to. I wanted to give you something to think about and understand where we're going with AI agents. It doesn't matter what agentic AI framework you're using, the idea is the same. The idea is the same, is that with agentic AI workflows, we're setting us up for success. This is the most important technology tool for you to master for 2025 and beyond. Well, goodbye 2024, and let's all have fun in 2025. Thank you. Till next time, be well.